Marcus Chun wiped the sweat from his forehead as he supervised the playground at the Galactic Youth Center. The massive dome stretched above him, filled with artificial sunlight that warmed the hundreds of alien children playing below. As the only human caretaker in the entire facility, Marcus had earned a reputation for being gentle but firm. The alien parents trusted him completely with their young ones. Mr. Marcus, Mr. Marcus, a small Zephyrian child with blue scales tugged at his pants. Her name was Lila, and her 4 eyes blinked rapidly with excitement. The bigger kids are being mean to us again. Marcus knelt down to her level, his weathered face showing concern. What happened, sweetheart? 3 big kids from the warrior species are taking our toys and pushing us. Lila's tentacle-like arms waved frantically. They say small species don't deserve to play here. Marcus stood up slowly, his joints creaking slightly. At 52 years old, he wasn't as young as he used to be, but he had something more valuable than youth experience. He had raised 3 children of his own back on Earth, and had been working at this center for 15 years. Show me where they are, Marcus said calmly. As they walked across the playground, Marcus noticed a crowd forming near the climbing structures. 3 adolescent aliens, each from different warrior species, had cornered a group of smaller children. The first was a Kronak, standing 8 feet tall with thick gray skin and muscular arms. The second was a Vorthin, covered in sharp spines with glowing red eyes. The third was a Balerian, with armor-like plates covering its body and massive clawed hands. Look at these pathetic creatures, the Kronak laughed, holding a toy spacecraft high above the smaller children's reach. They think they can play with warrior species toys. The Vorthin pushed a tiny mellow white child, who fell and started crying. Maybe we should teach them their place in the galaxy. Weak species serve, strong species rule. Marcus approached slowly, his hands relaxed at his sides. He had dealt with bullies before, both human and alien. The key was never to escalate, but also never to show fear. Afternoon, kids, Marcus said in a friendly tone. Having fun, the 3 warrior adolescents turned to look at him. The Balerian snorted through its breathing holes. A human? What's this soft species going to do? Humans are known for being weak. No claws, no armor, no natural weapons. You're right, Marcus agreed, surprising them. Humans don't have any of those things. But you know what we do have? The Kronak crossed all 4 of its arms. What? The ability to run away. Experience, Marcus said simply. I've been taking care of children for longer than you 3 have been alive. And I've learned something interesting about bullies. The Vorthin's spines bristled. We're not bullies. We're warriors. Our species conquered entire systems. Your species did, Marcus nodded. But you 3? You're just kids picking on smaller kids. Real warriors protect those who can't protect themselves. That's what my grandfather taught me, and he fought in Earth's old wars. The smaller children watched with wide eyes as Marcus stepped closer to the 3 bullies. Despite being shorter than all of them, something about his calm confidence made them step back slightly. Now, I'm going to give you one chance, Marcus continued. Return the toys, apologize to these children, and go play somewhere else. Or we can do this the hard way. The Kronak laughed, a harsh barking sound. The hard way? What are you going to do, human? Call for help? We know you're alone here. The other caretakers are afraid to work with warrior species. I don't need help, Marcus said. You see, humans might not have claws or armor, but we have something your species seem to have forgotten in all your conquering. What's that? The Balerian asked mockingly. Patience and intelligence, Marcus replied. For example, I know that Kronaks have a pressure point right behind their second left elbow that causes temporary paralysis. I know that Vorthins can't retract their spines when their core temperature drops suddenly. And I know that Balerians have a blind spot directly behind their head crest. The 3 bullies looked at each other uncertainly. How did this human know these things? Marcus continued. I also know that all 3 of your species have one thing in common. Your parents pay very expensive fees for you to attend the center. They expect you to learn proper social interaction with other species. How do you think they'll react when they find out you've been bullying younger children? You wouldn't dare, the Vorthin hissed. Try me. Marcus said simply. I have video recordings of everything that happens in this playground. Your parents will see exactly how their mighty warriors spend their time, picking on toddlers. The Kronak's gray skin flushed darker with embarrassment. Among their species, there was no greater shame than attacking those who couldn't defend themselves. It went against their entire warrior code. But here's what I prefer, Marcus added, his tone softening. You three are young. You're trying to figure out your place in this big galaxy. I get it, but being strong doesn't mean pushing others down. It means lifting them up. He pointed to the climbing structure. You want to prove your warriors? Help these little ones learn to climb. Teach them to be brave. Show them that strength can be kind. The three bullies stood there for a long moment. Then, slowly, the Kronak lowered its forearms and handed the toy back to a small child. I'm sorry, the Kronak mumbled. The Vorthan's spines relaxed. We didn't mean to, we just wanted to feel important. The Balerian scraped one clawed foot against the ground. Our parents always talk about the old days of conquest. We thought this was how warriors acted. Marcus smiled. The galaxy has changed. The strongest warriors now are those who protect peace, not destroy it. Want to learn what real strength looks like? For the rest of the afternoon, Marcus taught the three adolescents how to play with the younger children. He showed them games that required teamwork between big and small, strong and weak. Soon, the Kronak was carefully lifting small children up to reach the monkey bars. The Vorthan was using its spines to create a fun obstacle course. The Balerian was letting tiny children ride on its armored back. As the day ended and parents began arriving, a small Zephyrian girl ran up to Marcus again. It was Lila, the one who had first told him about the problem. Mr. Marcus, you're amazing. You stopped the bullies without even fighting. Marcus knelt down and ruffled her head scales gently. Sometimes, Lila, the best way to win a fight is to turn enemies into friends. Remember that when you grow up? Okay. As Lila ran off to her parent, Marcus didn't notice the three adult aliens watching him from across the center. They had been observing the entire incident, and they were very, very interested in this human caretaker who had handled their species' youth with such skill. The next day would bring unexpected visitors, and Marcus Chin's simple life as a caretaker was about to become much more complicated. The morning started like any other at the Galactic Youth Center. Marcus arrived early, as he always did, to prepare activities for the day. He was arranging colorful blocks in the toddler section when he noticed something unusual. Three adult aliens stood at the entrance, each wearing formal diplomatic attire. Marcus recognized their species immediately. A Kronak adult, much larger than the adolescent from yesterday, with ceremonial armor gleaming. A Vorthan elder, whose spines were tipped with gold, indicating high rank. A Balerian matriarch, whose armor plates bore intricate engravings of ancient battles. The center's director, a nervous pellucid named Director Vanix, fluttered over to Marcus. His transparent body showed his internal organs pulsing with anxiety. Marcus, these dignitaries specifically asked for you, Director Vanix whispered. They said they witnessed something yesterday. I hope there's no trouble. You know how the warrior species can be when they're angry. Marcus straightened his simple caretaker uniform and walked toward the delegation. He had faced angry parents before, though never ones who could literally tear him apart with their bare hands. Good morning, Marcus said politely. I'm Marcus Chen. How can I help you? The Kronak stepped forward. Unlike the bullying youth from yesterday, this adult carried themselves with true dignity. I am General Krovar of the Kronak Defense Force. This is Elder Spithra of the Vorthan Council and Matriarch Balera of the Balerian clans. Marcus nodded respectfully to each. It's an honor to meet you all. Is there something wrong with the care your children are receiving? The three aliens exchanged glances. Then Elder Spithra spoke, her voice like whispered steel. On the contrary, human, we came to observe how our species' youth behave when they think no adults are watching. What we saw yesterday was illuminating. Matriarch Balera's armored head tilted. You handled three aggressive adolescents from the galaxy's most warrior-like species without violence, without backup, and without fear. More importantly, you transformed their behavior in a single afternoon. I just did my job, Marcus said simply. Every child needs guidance, regardless of their species. General Crovar made a rumbling sound that Marcus recognized as Cronak laughter. Just your job? Do you know how many diplomatic incidents have occurred because our species' young ones couldn't learn to interact peacefully? How many schools have banned them? How many peace treaties have nearly failed because of cultural misunderstandings starting in childhood? Marcus was beginning to understand. You're not here to complain. No, Elder Spithris said. We're here to recruit you. Recruit me? Marcus blinked in surprise. I'm just a caretaker. I'm not a soldier or a diplomat. Exactly, Matriarch Balera said. The Galactic Council has tried everything to promote peace between species, treaties, trade agreements, military alliances. But perhaps what we really need is someone who understands children. The three dignitaries led Marcus to a quiet corner of the center where they could talk privately. Through the windows, Marcus could see children of all species playing together, some of the same ones who had been in conflict yesterday. General Crovar began. The galaxy stands at a crossroads. Marcus Chun. For thousands of years, species like ours ruled through strength and conquest. But the younger generations are growing up in a different universe, one where cooperation matters more than domination. The problem, Elder Spithra added, is that we don't know how to teach them. Our ancient ways speak only of battle and victory. When our youth try to prove themselves, they often resort to aggression because that's all our histories show them. But, Matriarch Balera leaned forward, you showed those three adolescents another way. In one afternoon, you accomplished what our species educators have failed to do in decades. Marcus shook his head. I appreciate your faith in me, but I'm not qualified for whatever you're proposing. I don't have degrees in alien psychology or diplomatic training. I'm just a dad who ended up working with alien kids. Tell us about your own children, Elder Spithra requested. Marcus smiled softly. I have 3 kids back on Earth. They're all grown now. Sarah's a doctor, working in the colonies. Michael's an engineer, helping build the new space stations. And my youngest, David, he's a teacher like me. How did you raise them? General Crovar asked. Humans were new to the galactic community then. Your children must have faced challenges. They did, Marcus admitted. Other species kids would sometimes bully them for being weak humans. But I taught them that strength comes in many forms. Sarah once faced down a young Vorthan who was picking on smaller kids. She didn't fight. She just started listing every bone in his spine and what would happen if each one was injured. Scared him enough to leave everyone alone. The 3 aliens made sounds of amusement. Michael, Marcus continued, he befriended a Cronak child by challenging him to building competitions instead of fighting. Turns out, your species loves engineering as much as warfare when given the chance. And your youngest? Matriarch Balera asked. David was the one who taught me the most, Marcus said. He was always the smallest in his class, but he had this way of making friends with everyone. He'd find what each species was good at and celebrate it. Pretty soon, the tough kids were protecting him because he made them feel valued for more than just their strength. The 3 dignitaries exchanged meaningful looks again. This is exactly what we need, General Crovar said decisively. The Galactic Council has approved a new initiative, the Universal Youth Understanding Program. We need someone to lead it, someone who can teach not just children, but also educators across the galaxy. You want me to leave the center? Marcus asked, glancing through the window at the playing children. Not leave, Elder Spithra corrected. Expand. This center would become the flagship location. You would train teachers from every species, develop programs that promote peaceful interaction, and help shape how the next generation sees each other. But I'm just one human, Marcus protested. One human who did what armies of peacekeepers couldn't, Matriarch Balera said. You didn't defeat those 3 youth yesterday through force. You defeated their aggression with wisdom. Before Marcus could respond, a commotion erupted in the main play area. Through the window, they could see a group of older youth surrounding smaller children. But this time, wasn't bullying. The 3 adolescents from yesterday were there, but they were protecting the smaller ones from a new group of troublemakers. The Cronak youth Marcus had talked to yesterday stood firmly between the bullies and the small children. These little ones are under our protection, he declared. Real warriors don't harm the weak. Marcus felt a surge of pride. The lesson had stuck. You see, General Crovar pointed at the scene. In one day, you changed those 3 from bullies to protectors. Imagine what you could do with proper resources and support. The delegation isn't just us 3, Elder Spithra revealed. Representatives from dozens of species are waiting to meet you. The Mellowites, the Pellucids, the Zephyrians, all the species whose children have been pushed around for too long. They want their youth to learn confidence without aggression. The warrior species want their youth to learn honor without violence. Marcus watched as the adolescent Kronak carefully helped a tiny mellow white child climb up to get a ball stuck in the play structure. Yesterday, that same Kronak had been holding toys out of reach. The transformation was remarkable. What about the parents who might not agree? Marcus asked. Not everyone wants their children learning new ways. That's why we need you, Matriarch Balaris said. You have a gift for speaking to both children and adults. Yesterday, when those 3 youth went home, they told their parents about the human who taught them real strength. Those parents told others. Word spreads quickly in warrior communities when someone earns genuine respect. Director Vanix, who had been hovering nervously nearby, finally spoke up. Marcus, this could change everything. Not just for our center, but for the entire galaxy. Think of how many conflicts start from childhood misunderstandings that grow into adult hatred. Marcus took a deep breath. He thought about his own children, now grown and making their own marks on the galaxy. He thought about little Lila, who had run to him for help. He thought about the 3 bullies who had become protectors overnight. If I do this, Marcus said slowly, I have conditions. The 3 dignitaries leaned forward eagerly. First, we start small. I won't abandon the children I already care for to chase some grand vision. We build from here, with the kids who already trust me. Agreed, General Crovar said immediately. Second, I want parents involved. Not just dropping their kids off, but participating, learning alongside their children. The biggest bullies are often just copying what they see at home. A wise requirement, Elder Spithra noted. Third, we include every species. Not just the powerful ones or the weak ones. Everyone. The galaxy's strength is its diversity. Of course, Matriarch Balera agreed. And finally, Marcus said, I want my own kids involved. Sarah can teach basic medical knowledge to help species understand each other's biology. Michael can run engineering workshops that mix different species' abilities. David can help train the next generation of teachers. The 3 dignitaries stood up formally. Marcus Chun of Earth, General Crovar intoned. We offer you the position of Director of the Universal Youth Understanding Program, with full authority to implement your vision. Do you accept? Marcus looked out at the playground one more time. The former bullies were now teaching games to the younger children. Species that rarely interacted were playing together. This was just one center on one space station. But change had to start somewhere. I accept, Marcus said, but on one more condition. Name it, Elder Spithra said. Marcus grinned. Everyone calls me Mr. Marcus, not Director. I'm a caretaker first, always. The room filled with the various sounds of alien laughter. As they shook hands, claws, and tentacles to seal the agreement, none of them noticed the small group of children pressed against the window, watching with excited eyes. Among them was Lila, who turned to her friends with all 4 eyes shining. I told you Mr. Marcus was special. He's going to teach the whole galaxy how to be nice. 6 months had passed since Marcus accepted his new role. The Galactic Youth Center had transformed into something unprecedented, a hub where educators from across the galaxy came to learn the Marcus method, as it had become known. Today was special, though. Today was the first Universal Species Youth Summit, and tensions were running high. Marcus stood in the newly built amphitheater, watching as young representatives from 50 different species filed in. Each group sat with their own kind, eyeing the others with mixtures of curiosity, suspicion, and in some cases, barely concealed hostility. Dad, you sure about this? David Chun asked, standing beside his father. He'd taken leave from his teaching position on Earth to help with the program. Some of these species have been enemies for centuries. That's exactly why we need to do this, Marcus replied. Adults make peace treaties. Children make peace real. Sarah Chun approached from the medical station she'd set up. The Saurian youth are showing stress indicators. Their neck frills keep flaring, and the crystalline kids are resonating at anxiety frequencies. Normal first-day nerves, Marcus assured her. Remember your first day at multi-species school? Sarah laughed. I threw up. Twice. And now you're the head physician for 3 colony worlds, Marcus reminded her. Fear fades. Understanding grows. Michael jogged over, tablet in hand. Dad, we got a problem. The Void Dancers just arrived. Everyone froze. The Void Dancers were perhaps the most feared species in the galaxy. Beings of living shadow who could phase through solid matter. Their youth were typically kept separate from other species. They were invited like everyone else, Marcus said calmly. Show them to their section. But Dad, Michael protested. The other species are already scared. Look, indeed, as 3 young Void Dancers floated into the amphitheater, other youth pulled back. The shadow-like beings seemed to ripple with sadness at the reaction. Marcus made a decision. Change of plans. David, start the mixer game early. Sarah, get your empathy sensors ready. Michael, activate the universal translator's emotion settings, not just words. The mixer game? David's eyes widened. Dad, that's meant for after they've gotten comfortable with each other. No better time than now, Marcus said, walking toward the stage. He stepped up to the microphone, and his voice filled the amphitheater. Welcome, everyone, to the first Universal Species Youth Summit. Various sounds of greeting echoed back. Chirps, roars, whistles, and hums. Now, I know you're all nervous. Some of you have been taught to fear each other. Some of your species have fought wars. But you know what? None of you started those wars. You're here to start something else, friendship. A young Kronak raised a muscular arm. Marcus recognized him. It was Torvin, the former bully from 6 months ago, now one of his best youth assistants. Yes, Torvin. Mr. Marcus, my grandmother says Void Dancers steal souls. Is that true? A ripple of nervous energy went through the crowd. The 3 Void Dancer youth seemed to shrink into themselves. Marcus smiled. Why don't we ask them? But first, let me ask you something, Torvin. 6 months ago, what did other species say about Kronaks? Torvin's gray skin darkened with embarrassment. That we were mindless brutes who only knew how to fight. And was that true? No. I mean, we like fighting, but we also love building things and telling stories and... Exactly, Marcus interrupted gently. So maybe, just maybe, what species say about each other isn't always true. Now, would one of our Void Dancer friends like to introduce themselves? The 3 shadow beings huddled together. Then, slowly, the smallest one drifted forward. When it spoke, the universal translator conveyed a voice like whispered starlight. I'm Whisper of Stars. We don't steal souls. We're just hard to see, so people make up scary stories. We really like jokes. And music, but no one ever gets close enough to find out. Thank you for sharing that, Whisper of Stars, Marcus said warmly. Now, everyone up. We're going to play a game. Groans and nervous chittering filled the air, but the youth stood. The rules are simple, David explained, taking over. When the music plays, you move around. When it stops, you find the nearest person from a different species and share one thing about yourself. Ready? Michael started the music, a careful composition designed to be pleasant to all known auditory ranges. The youth moved reluctantly at first, keeping to their groups. Then, the music stopped. Find someone different, David called out. Chaos ensued. A young mellow white found herself face-to-face with a Saurian. A crystalline resonated nervously next to a Vorthan. And little Lila, the Zephyrian who had first brought Marcus into the conflict 6 months ago, boldly approached Whisper of Stars. I'm Lila, she said bravely. I like painting with my tentacles. What do you like? The Void Dancer rippled with what Sarah's emotion sensors registered as surprise and joy. I like catching light rays and weaving them into patterns. It's like painting, but with photons. That's so cool, Lila exclaimed. Can you show me? As Whisper of Stars began creating delicate light patterns in the air, other youth started to notice. The fear began to fade, replaced by curiosity. The music started and stopped several more times. Each round, the interactions became easier. Marcus watched with satisfaction as barriers crumbled. Then, disaster struck. A young razorclaw, a species known for their aggressive territorialism, accidentally bumped into a harmonist youth. Harmonists were delicate beings who communicated through musical tones, and the collision caused a discordant shriek of pain. "You hurt her," another harmonist chimed angrily. "It was an accident," the razorclaw hissed, his spines extending defensively. Within seconds, species were separating into groups again, old instincts taking over. The Kronax moved to one side, other warrior species joining them. The smaller, more peaceful species clustered together on the other side. The Void Dancers floated uncertainly between groups. "They're dividing," Sarah whispered urgently to Marcus. "Heart rates are spiking across the board." "Dad," Michael said, "should I call security?" "No," Marcus said firmly. "They need to work through this." He stepped forward, but before he could speak, a small voice piped up. "Stop it." Everyone turned. Lila stood in the center, her 4 eyes flashing with determination. "Mr. Marcus taught us better than this. Torvin, remember when you pushed me? Mr. Marcus didn't separate us. He helped us understand each other." Torvin lowered his 4 arms, looking ashamed. "She's right. Razorclaw, did you mean to hurt the harmonist?" The Razorclaw's spines retracted slightly. "No, I was trying to move away because I was nervous. My spines came out by instinct." "And, harmonist," Lila turned to the musical being, "don't your people teach that every discord can become harmony with understanding?" The injured harmonist chimed softly, a sound like bells. "Yes, I was scared, not truly hurt. Your spine surprised me." Whisper of Stars drifted between the two groups. "In the void, we have a saying, only in darkness can you see the stars." Maybe we need difficult moments to find the light in each other. Marcus felt a surge of pride as the youth began talking to each other, working through the conflict without adult intervention. This was what he'd hoped for, not the absence of conflict, but the ability to resolve it. "Look at that," David murmured. "They're doing it themselves." The summit continued for 3 days. There were more conflicts, more misunderstandings, but each time, the youth grew better at solving them. By the end, something remarkable had happened. The Razorclaw youth had learned to retract his spines through meditation taught by the harmonists. The Void Dancers were teaching others how to see beauty in shadows. Torvin had started a mixed-species construction club. Lila had become an unofficial ambassador, flitting between groups with her infectious enthusiasm. On the final day, the youth presented their Universal Peace Charter, not written by adults, but by them. It was simple, honest, and powerful. We, the youth of the galaxy, promised to ask before assuming, learn before judging, protect those smaller or different, share our strengths, admit our fears, build friendships across the stars. As the summit ended, and youth prepared to return to their homeworlds, they didn't separate by species. They exchanged contact codes, made plans to visit, and created mixed-species groups for various interests. The 3 alien dignitaries who had first approached Marcus stood watching with him. "Remarkable," General Crovar rumbled. "In 3 days, they've accomplished what our diplomats couldn't in 3 centuries. Because they started with open hearts," Elder Spithro observed. "No old grudges, no ancient fears." "Well, some fears," Matriarch Bolera corrected, watching a crystalline teaching a Vorthan how to resonate properly. "But they faced them together." A young journalist from the Galactic News Network approached Marcus. "Mr. Marcus, how do you explain this success? What's your secret?" Marcus chuckled, watching as Whisper of Stars created a light show for a mixed group of enthralled youth. "No secret. I just remembered something we humans learned long ago. Children aren't born knowing how to hate. That's taught, which means we can teach something else instead." "But surely it's more complex than that," the journalist pressed. "Is it?" Marcus asked. "Look at them. A week ago, half these species wouldn't even stand in the same room. Now they're planning sleepovers. All we did was give them permission to be curious instead of scared." As the youth began departing, many ran up to Marcus for hugs, high fives, tentacle touches, or their species' equivalent of affectionate farewell. Mr. Marcus, whisper of stars floated over, thank you. For the first time, I have friends who aren't afraid of my shadow. You always deserved friends, Marcus told the young void dancer. Everyone does. After the last youth had left, Marcus stood in the empty amphitheater with his 3 children. Dad, Sarah said softly, do you realize what you started? These kids are going to grow up and change the galaxy. That's the idea, Marcus replied. But there'll be resistance, Michael warned. Not everyone wants change. Some species profit from conflict. Then we'll teach their children too, David said confidently. One playground at a time. Marcus looked at his grown children, a doctor who understood bodies, an engineer who understood structures, and a teacher who understood hearts. I'm proud of you all. You took my simple lessons and made them galactic. We had a good teacher, Sarah said, hugging her father. As they walked out together, Marcus noticed something carved into one of the amphitheater seats. It was a message in multiple languages. Mr. Marcus showed us that humans' greatest strength isn't their technology or their adaptability. It's their ability to see everyone as family. We promised to spread this strength across the stars. Below were dozens of signatures, claw marks, light patterns, and other species' ways of leaving their mark. Marcus smiled. The 3 young bullies he'd confronted 6 months ago had become teachers. The small children who'd been afraid had become brave. And a simple human caretaker had helped plant seeds of peace that would grow for generations. Come on, Dad, David called. The next group of educators arrives tomorrow. You got a galaxy to teach. As they left, the setting sun cast long shadows through the amphitheater. For just a moment, the shadows seemed to dance with light, a reminder that even the darkest spaces could be filled with understanding, if someone was willing to shine a light. The Universal Youth Understanding Program would face challenges in the years to come. There would be setbacks, conflicts, and those who resisted change. But in playgrounds, schools, and youth centers across the galaxy, children were learning a simple truth. Strength wasn't about who could fight the hardest. It was about who could understand the deepest, forgive the quickest, and build bridges the strongest. And it all started because a human father knew when to stop bullies not with force, but with wisdom. The galaxy would never be the same.